All right, let's talk about some of those English grammar points that are, well, they can be a real headache, right? We're going to tackle a few of them today, and I promise, by the end of this, you're going to feel so much more confident using them.
Okay, let's just dive right into a big one. I mean, does this look familiar? I bet it does. It's one of the most common points of confusion for English learners everywhere. But here's the good news. The difference is actually pretty simple once it clicks. So let's get it to click for you right now. So here's the game plan. First, we're solving that past versus now puzzle. Then we'll look at how to shift a sentence's focus. After that, we'll jump into imaginary situations, dodge some common mistakes, and wrap up with what you can do next. Sound good? Let's do it. Okay, first up, let's talk about time. I want you to think of the past simple and the present perfect as two different tools in your grammar toolkit. Choosing the right one is kind of like being a time traveler setting the coordinates on your machine. Are you dialing in a specific moment in the past that's totally finished, or are you setting a course for a time that still has a connection to right now? That's the key question. So, here it is, the big difference. The past simple, that's for a finished story. It happened, it's done, end of chapter. But the present perfect, that's different. Think of it like a bridge. It's the tense that connects something that happened in the past directly to the present moment.
And check this out. This example shows perfectly how one tiny change in words completely flips the meaning. If I say, I lived in London for 2 years, what does that mean? It means I don't live there anymore. It's a finished part of my life story. But if I say I have lived in London for 2 years, that tells you something completely different about my present. It means I started living there 2 years ago, and guess what? I'm still there. See the difference? One is just a memory, the other is my reality today.
And there are little clue words that can help you out here. It's kind of like a cheat sheet. If you see words like yesterday or last week, or a specific year, like in 2010, those all point to a finished, specific time. That's your signal to use the past simple. But if you see words like recently, lately, or so far, well, those are all about an unfinished time period that's still connected to now. And that's your cue for the present perfect. Super helpful, right? All right, we've nailed down time. Now let's move on to our next big topic, the passive voice. Now, I know the name sounds a little complicated, but don't worry about the rule book. I want you to think of it like this. You're the director of a movie, and the passive voice is your tool for deciding where to shine the spotlight in a scene.
So, what's its main job? It's all about changing the focus. In a regular, what we call active sentence, the spotlight is on the hero, the person doing the action. But when you use the passive voice, you swing that spotlight away from the hero and onto the action itself, or maybe onto the thing that the action is happening to.
So when would you actually use this? Well, a few key times. Sometimes the action is just way more important than the person who did it. Think about it. The Mona Lisa was painted, we care more about the painting. Or maybe we just don't know who did the action, like my car was stolen. Who stole it? No idea. And sometimes it's just, well, obvious. The suspect was arrested. I mean, who else would arrest them but the police, right? And a big one, you'll see this all the time in formal and scientific writing. And making a passive sentence? It's literally like following a recipe. Seriously. Step 1, take the object of your sentence and put it right at the front. So in this case, Hamlet. Step 2, add the right form of the verb to be. Here, that's was. Step 3, add the past participle of the main verb. That's written. And then the optional final step. If you want to say who did it, you can add by Shakespeare at the end. See? Hamlet was written by Shakespeare. Easy.
But why should you care about this? I'll tell you why. Getting the hang of the passive voice is an absolute game changer, especially if you're writing for work or school. It instantly makes your writing sound more objective, more formal, and frankly, more professional. It is such a powerful tool to have in your back pocket.
Okay, let's shift gears completely. We've been talking about real things that happened. Now let's move from the factual to the fantastic. It's time to talk about what I like to call the dreamer's tense, the second conditional. This is your go-to grammar for all those what-if questions, for giving really good advice, and for talking about all your biggest dreams.
The most important thing to get here is that the second conditional is for things that are not real right now. Not real. We're talking about imaginary situations, hypothetical ideas, or things that are just super unlikely to ever happen. It is literally the language of your imagination.
And there's a really simple formula for it. It's a two-part structure. You have your if part, which sets up the imaginary situation, and you use the past simple tense for that. Then you have the second part, which describes the result, and for that you use would plus the main verb. Once you get this pattern down, you can create a million different what-if sentences. It's awesome. I mean, this has to be the most famous example, right? If I were you. We use this all the time to give advice in a polite way. And here's a pro tip. Notice how we say if I were you, not if I was you. Even though I is singular, we use were. Why? Because in this kind of sentence, especially in more formal English, were is the special signal that tells everyone, hey, this is totally imaginary.
And of course, we use it for our dreams. If I won the lottery. See, there's the past simple won. I would buy a big house. And there's the result with would. This structure just unlocks the door to talking about all those amazing imaginary futures. It's not real, sure, but isn't it fun to think about?
Phew. Okay, we have covered a lot. So before we wrap up, let's do a quick final check to make sure all of this really sinks in. We're going to look at a few super common mistakes, the kind of traps people fall into all the time, so that you can see them coming and just step right around them.
Okay, trap number 1. This takes us all the way back to our first topic. Look at that phrase, in recent years. Is that time period finished? Nope. It includes right now. So you can't use the past simple. You need that bridge to the present. You need the present perfect. So it's not expanded, it's has expanded.
Oh, this is such a classic one with the passive voice. People forget a little word. When you mix the present perfect tense with a passive voice, you need two little helpers, have and been. So you can't just say many buildings have constructed. No. It has to be many buildings have been constructed. That tiny word been is absolutely crucial. And finally, here is the golden rule for the second conditional. If you remember one thing, make it this. You never, ever put would in the if part of the sentence. Never. The if part gets the past simple verb, if I won, if I had, if I were. The would belongs in the other part, the result part. Get that straight and you will nail this every single time.
Okay, you've listened, you've learned the rules, you've seen the examples. Now comes the most important part, putting it all into action. So here's your mission, to really make this grammar feel natural and easy.
And these are really simple but super powerful ways to practice. Next time you're reading the news, just look for the passive voice. I guarantee you'll see it everywhere. Or try to write just one what-if sentence about your day. If I had a superpower, I would, Or maybe keep a little journal. Each day, write one sentence about yesterday, that's your past simple, and one sentence about what you've done this week so far, that's your present perfect. It's this kind of active practice that really makes it all stick.
So let's boil it all down. If you walk away with just 4 things, let it be these. Past simple, finished story. Present perfect, bridge to right now. Passive voice, it's all about where you put the focus. And the second conditional, that's for your imagination. Those 4 simple ideas are your keys.
So there you have it. You now have the tools to talk about hypotheticals, to dream, and to imagine completely different realities. So my question for you is, what's the first what-if sentence you're going to use? Go on, give it a try. Dream a little bigger. Thanks so much for joining me today.